Welcome back to another build, fam. Before we start this video off, I just want to say I truly appreciate you guys who engage and help to grow this family here on YouTube. And to show my appreciation, I want to give back as much as I can to you guys for all the giving that you do for me. And to show you guys that I'm serious about giving back, I dedicated this video to Kenobi, who's been a astronomical help with the channel. And to give back to him, he'd been trying for 6 years for a giveaway, and I couldn't let a kid down, not on this channel, so I got to work. Alright, so Kenobi wanted a specific scene from a specific mission, that being the Effect and Cause mission from Titanfall 2. In this mission, you learn about what happened with this specific IMC research facility through a series of time shift events and audio logs. In this scene, the research facility is decrepit and overgrown with vegetation. And guess what? That's the kind of scene I love making, so I got to work. This piece started off with a challenge. And that's because I had to start over a couple of times to try and get this scene right. But I had to learn new things, and that was cutting angles, setting down stairs, a new method of laying down tiles. But once I got the ball rolling, there was no way it was stopping. I wanted to capture this specific scene here because it looks so dark, decrepit, and overgrown. So I had to look at a bunch of references in order to get this right, but I think I got it right for the most part with a little bit of creative influence from my own mind, and turned out okay, I think. So as I always enjoy doing with the border of my dioramas, I make it a rocky texture and then I move on to the scene itself. But here's where I messed up. I completely screwed up the tiles, and then I committed to a process called laying tile. I'm glad it turned out this way because this method is far above the method that I had been using before, so I'll be using this going forward. So as I'm laying these tiles down with some foam safe super glue, I'm also going back through and creating those cracks and crevices. But that wasn't as satisfying as watching these tiles fit almost seamlessly. After I got all the tiles set in and I'm happy with some gaps here and there, I decided to go ahead and go back over it with some light sanding, and then I take a wire brush from my gun cleaning kit and just drag it over the entire piece to give it that concrete texture. It's time to fill in some of those crevices to get us set up for the dirt later on, so I took some sculpt mold and laid it down. I do the same thing on the outside to hide those weird lines, and then I move on to priming the piece, which, for some reason, I lost the footage of. Anyways, I don't mess up, you mess up. So now it's time to segue from that lie I just told and get onto the painting. I start by painting the outer edges of the piece with a neutral gray 5 from Liquitex, and then I use a basalt gray from Viejo for the tiles. For the ground sections, I'm using Viejo's Burnt Umber. It gives that appearance of soil whenever it dries, and it dries super quick. That's why I really like their paints. With that, it's time to paint the border of the diorama with that neutral gray 5 that we had used on the outside for the concrete. I gave the entire piece a black wash, and then I dry brushed some of those edges with Viejo's white gray to capture those highlights. Now it's time to lay down the dirt. So how I'm doing this is I'm taking down some watered down Mod Podge and just sprinkling some dry sifted dirt over it. It gives it a really nice look. Now I'm using the same process for a mixture of fine turf. But it doesn't look right with just that, so I get out my static grass applicator and I lay down a mixture of grass. That looks a lot better. Now it's time for the overgrown part, so I'm setting in some bushes and thickets. Now the base is done. And with the base done, we can now move on to the miniature. I gave the entire piece a coat of black primer from Viejo, and I had to be very careful how I did it because this piece is that fragile. The entire model is modular, so I had to be very careful when posing and painting it because one wrong move could undo that bonding from the superglue. So yeah, there's more footage missing. But the only thing I did was coat the model in OD green with my airbrush, so not much was missed. After that, I looked at a couple of references and spray painted on some white, and then I moved to the orange. I'm going back through now, getting that finer detail with a brush, as well as painting in those metal parts. Only thing left to do now is to paint the lights and give it a high gloss varnish, and then also give the entire model a coat of Citadel non-oil. I also did the rocket arms, of course, because I'm not going to leave those out. Kenobi, you can pose them however you like. And with that, the piece is done. It was a challenge from start to finish, but I enjoyed every single second of it. Just like if you guys enjoyed every single second of this video, you should go ahead, like, share, subscribe, join the family. That being said, this big reveal is going to be a little bit different this time because it's a giveaway. I'm not going to permanently fix the model to the base because I would like for Kenobi to put the model where he would like. Now I say this is going to be a different kind of big reveal because I tried to put it on the display machine and this happened. Like I said, start to finish. But it's all good. I fixed it up and it's not even like you could even tell that it broke anyways. Now let's get on to the big reveal, shall we?